Welcome to Athletes Beyond the Game, the community that helps athletes transition to life beyond sports. I'm Julia.
And I'm Sara.
And each episode, we'll dive into athlete stories and get real about the challenges of navigating life post-athletic retirement. Welcome back to another episode of Athletes Beyond the Game. We are joined today by Jennifer Casson. She is a former Division I rower from the University of Tulsa and two-time Olympian. She competed in the lightweight scull double in both the Paris Olympics in 2024 and the Tokyo Olympics in 2020. We are super grateful and excited to sit down and talk to her. We go over what it's like being a two-time Olympian, having to meet those numbers both in 2020 and 2024, what life is like in between each Olympic Games, and how you stay prepared, especially from being a rower. We also discuss what it's like to start a business. She co-founded a business that creates women's everyday bras, which will be launching soon, hopefully in 2026, and we will keep you posted on all those launch dates, and we're super excited to try. As former athletes, we struggle in this department. And we also talk about what it's like starting from the bottom, retiring from your sport, no longer playing your sport, and going into a career and starting from nothing. And so we kind of dive deep into those topics and how she found out that her career was essentially coming to an end. The LA Olympics in 2028 has gotten rid of the lightweight duo, so unfortunately she will not be able to compete in that category. And don't forget, our website is now launched, so if you are somebody who wants to come on or tell your story, we would love to hear from you. We have a submission section on our website, and we also accept emails or DMs if you would like to share that way. Please like, rate, subscribe. Everything helps us. And we hope you enjoy this episode. Jenny, thank you for joining us today. To get started, can you tell the listeners where you're from and how you got into rowing?
Yeah, for sure. I am originally from Kingston, Ontario, Canada. And for those of you that don't know, it's like pretty much right across the street from like Clayton, New York. So grew up on the water and got into rowing because my brother started going to rowing, and I was recovering from an injury from running, two stress fractures in my legs. And so I joined him the early mornings and fell in love with the community and the water and moving a boat. And that's sort of where my rowing career started.
So you started in 11th grade, was like the first time you had rowed?
Yeah, correct. Rowing is really special in the fact that it's a very late entry sport. Mm-hmm. I know Olympic gold medalist from the Tokyo 2028 didn't start rowing until she was 31.
Wow. Sara, there's a chance for us.
Yes, there is. Should you decide to torment yourself with rowing? Yeah. It's not a chance you could do it.
I did not know that. That's super cool. That's super interesting.
Yeah. So then what's the average age then for a rower if it's like an older entry sport?
It varies so much. I mean, there are some young talent that are just phenomenal at 18, but you can row up until, I know some athletes that were medalists at 34, 36, females typically, just because it is a low impact sport, so you're not constantly moving your body, and it is very, very aerobically based. So if you have that kind of engine on you, you can go for quite some time in the sport itself, and then as you get more and more refined as an athlete and the technical aspect of the sport, the improvement is as great as you want it to be.
And correct me if I'm wrong, you're a lightweight rower?
Correct. Okay. Yeah, I competed in the lightweight women's double in Tokyo and Paris. Okay. And will not be competing lightweight women's double in LA because it will not exist. So
yeah. Okay, so they're getting rid of it.
They did. They got rid of it. Yeah.
Okay.
So, a little bit of forced retirement, but there's never a door fully closed on heavyweight rowing.
So then can you describe your college rowing experience and also where you went to college as well?
Yeah. It was interesting. It was half and half, having fun in college and then all of a sudden taking it super seriously. Transparently, I wasn't very academically inclined in high school. I got fine grades, but I didn't know what I wanted to do or where I wanted to go. And I was at that age where I really wanted to get out of town, like far town. My parents were dying for me to go to Queen's University, which is the
Yep.
university that is in Kingston. And it was like, my grandparents went there, a lot of cousins, aunts, uncles, doing that. So I got a scholarship to the University of Tulsa in Oklahoma.
Oh, okay.
I was like, this far, I will go. And so I went to school in Oklahoma,
Mm-hmm.
private school, and it was awesome. It was a lot of fun in terms of the school itself and being sort of a really tiny D1 school
Yep.
and completely immersed in the Southern football fandom that is Oklahoma, which was brand new to me, and cowboy boots and the whole show.
Yeah.
But it was awesome. I mean, it was the D1 experience in university in the States is unlike anything else in the world.
Mm-hmm.
And then, well, I mean, then there was me, which was the first 2 years, absolute party mayhem, not taking anything seriously. Amazed that I got through on to the other end. But then all of a sudden, for some reason, around year 3, to credit my now husband, then boyfriend, we got together and I'd always kind of admired him for his discipline and his dedication he was a golfer, he was around golf
Mm-hmm.
scholarship, dedication to his sport. And one of us had to change. It wasn't going to be him. So,
That's kind of awesome though that you met somebody there that kind of changed, the outlook and the way that you went about college. It's kind of cool.
oh, yeah, no, it was. Yeah, he's also the polar opposite of me. He's very calm, cool, collected, soft spoken, disciplined, like I said. And then I don't know, I admired it. And then I also started to just have healthier habits, stopped, drinking
Going
later.
out. Yeah.
And that all of a sudden changed, obviously, how you felt, how I could perform, all these
Right.
other things. Your doctor tells you, but you don't take too
You're
seriously.
not listening. Because you started rowing in 11th grade or year 11, how was the recruiting process for you? Like, what is that very common in rowers to kind of start late? So recruiting is kind of late because I know most sports, it's, you've been playing your sport since you were 2, 3, 4, 5. So how is
Yeah,
that?
it was quick and dirty kind of thing in the sense that what really got me to university was my erg score, so
Okay.
the sport I could pull on the rowing machine.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah, I was pretty good at that from the get-go, and then that attracted, I think, a couple coaches, and Tulsa was the one school that could offer me a full ride, and given the price of college, I wasn't about to say no to that. And
Right.
so I think I was super lucky in the fact that I was strong from the get-go, and so that kind of was my northern star in terms of identifying my potential and then getting to a small program.
I'm just really intrigued with what you talked about with that shift, kind of the second half of your college career, with your mindset. When you're talking about getting more discipline, was that specifically more in your sport or just in general with sport and schooling? What kind of motivated you to change your habits?
Reality. Honestly, I think it just hit me one day where I was like, this is so unsustainable
Yeah.
and I'm so
Mhm.
old and I need to get my shit together. Sorry if I can't
You
cuss,
can
but it
curse.
really,
Okay.
yeah, it really was like a come to Jesus, oh no, this is getting bad moment. And then, after the first 2 years of college, when you look down and you only have 2 left, and someone's like, so what are you doing with your life? And you're like, I was getting a degree in exercise and sports science, which no credit, no discredit to the people who do that, but I had no interest in being a PT. I literally did it because I was like, I can learn about sport in
Right.
my brain. And so, yeah, so then I started taking some other courses to sort of like round out what I was doing and what my interests were from different like areas of what the school could offer. So some undergraduate law courses. And I think getting into some higher level, I guess, yeah, higher level courses with different professors and different groups of people opened my mind to maybe a different way of going about my day in a more structured sort of discipline. I keep saying the word discipline, but it really was a lack of, and then a realization that I needed it in my life kind of transition. And so, yeah, I think just a combination of a bunch of different factors hit hardest with people being, what are you doing with your life? And maybe I don't know. And
Right.
then tried to figure that out my own way. And then something else that really did change was I moved up by myself. And once I was by myself, I sort of could get into my own routine and
Yeah.
eat better, train smarter, work harder kind of thing. So that was really just a series of very fortunate events.
I feel a lot of athletes will probably relate to that since, we train so hard to get to college and then you're there and oftentimes the academic portion is, kind of pushed to the side and is the second priority. And there's many athletes who are, I don't know what I'm doing. I have no idea. I haven't thought about it. Second
Yeah.
semester, senior year, you're like, oh, I should probably apply to a job. I've never had one before. So I think a
Yep.
lot of them will relate to that.
It's so true, and it's funny because I'm talking about back in 2017 before there was any of the NIL
Yeah.
money, hope, and I wasn't rowing.
Yeah.
I don't know what my game plan was. I think if I were a basketball player or a football player in this day and age, I'd probably be riding that train till the very end.
Absolutely.
Very end. But, when you're in a niche sport and you really aren't inclined to follow one path or another in terms of what you want to do after, it's so important to start having that realistic conversation with yourself as soon as you can and just start like chipping away at it. And then it's the same thing for people who go on to the Olympics or professional sport. You're not going to be an Olympian for the rest of your life.
Right.
Sorry. I mean, pretty happy to be proven wrong in that, but you do have to start thinking about what's next when you start your sport. Because
Right.
day every year, like you go in a 4-year cycle, and that comes and goes so quickly. You need to be prepared.
So when you got to college, was the Olympics always the goal, or it was I'm gonna row to get into college to get a scholarship? What was that kind of like?
Yeah, no, it was never the goal. Never in my life. When I was younger, I wanted to go to the Olympics
Of course.
for like track and field because I was a child who
Right.
did not
Yeah.
like everyone else. And I always thought the Olympics were super cool, but I always thought Olympians were some like foreign being that, had been training since they were 2 years old and
Right.
do a backflip, I don't know, walk. Like I just thought they were way above me. So I never really associated them with being something with associating the Olympics with being a realistic thing I could get. But I have this Daylilie mentality where when someone tells me that I can't do something, I'll go and do it.
I'm gonna do it.
And it's to the point of which I credit it to me getting the Olympic Games. So essentially what happened was, this is a very true story. We were coming home from practice one day, and in Tulsa, long story short, you take a bus 30 minutes each way to get to the place that you train, so it's a lot of U time, and the bus always dropped you outside the cafeteria, and so you get off the bus and you walk down this hall and you make a left and you're at the cafeteria. And so one day I was walking down this hall, and a teammate of mine at the time, who was a friend, and so none of this was malicious.
Yeah, okay.
But so we're talking about the Olympics and, some Olympians that we'd heard of because the Olympics had just happened in 2016, or were about to happen in 2016. That's what it was. The Olympics were about to happen, and we're like, there was a woman who had been at the University of Tulsa who I, long story short, ended up competing against years later. But we were talking and saying how, she might make it, but like no other rower from the University of Tulsa would ever make the Olympic Games. And I remember being like, something like that. Because there's something. She's like, well, we're a small school. No one here's really that good. No one's going to go to the Olympic Games from the University of Tulsa. And for some reason, I then decided that I was going to go to the Olympic Games. And from then on, every decision that I made was like, I'm going to go to the Olympics. And
I love it.
Yeah, that's such an sweet mentality.
We were similar. You and me are very similar.
No, I get that.
But the thing that was, and the thing that the demon inside of me that was fueled was like, how dare you?
Why are you? Yeah.
Don't put me in a box. Don't put me in a corner.
Yeah. Don't undermine me.
Yeah. And so then I just started working way harder than I was working. Again, I have these moments in my life that a flip just switches and I start going down a different path and there's not really much, there's no one can do anything about it. It just happens. And so then I end up again pulling stronger erg scores, getting fitter, getting leaner. I was quite a bit heavier at the time, so I lost, and credit to, we have the whole eating disorder cycle from during the Olympic Games, but prior to the Olympic Games, like in a very healthy way, I was able to lose weight from not drinking, which was very easy to do once you stop drinking. And so naturally I got a lot stronger, a lot fitter, a lot healthier. And I was then submitting erg scores to Rowing Canada. They were reviewing them. And then all of a sudden I got invited to a training camp in Florida in 2016. And that's when things started. Granted, I had never sculled, which is the other modality of row sculling. You can sweep. So 2 hours. And I was invited to this camp in Daylilie, Florida to train and to not try out, but to see how I would hold up to women there. I was interesting introduction because it was the training camp and selection camp for the Olympic Games. So it was me and every single woman who was going on to the Olympic Games that summer. And so it was terrifying. But nonetheless, I went there and the rest is kind of history. Just kept trying out, kept making it, and got faster and faster and ended up on the Olympics.
We'll probably have more questions related to that a little later on. So I'm excited to dive more into it. That's wild. That's wild.
I feel like you hear that a lot though from athletes, and I mean just some of the greatest athletes as well, is that mentality of, oh, you say I can't do it? Well, let me prove you wrong. I feel it's a very common mentality. It's a very, like, I mean, it can fuel you, and I totally get that. That was definitely, you almost have the list of people who don't believe in you, right?
Yeah. Jenny's like, I have it.
Like it's right here.
But
But you are a two-time Olympian, and you represented Canada in Tokyo in 2020, and recently in Paris in 2024. So how does the Olympic process work as a rower? And you kind of just talked about it a little bit with the, kind of gearing up to try out for who's on the team. But what does that look like from the time that you know that you're on the team to you actually get to the Olympics?
Yeah, it's so weird in rowing. So the biggest thing that we always say is the qualification happens a year before the games. So
Okay.
World Championship the year prior is qualification, and
Okay.
you never qualify yourself. You qualify the boat.
okay.
So up into a month or so, 2 months before the Olympic Games, your seat is up for grabs. So you're never actually an Olympian until you're finished competing at the Olympic Games. And you're never going to the Olympics until you're physically there and you've gone down the race course in the boat you were named to. So it's a very daunting process. So essentially, what you do is every 4 years you come together, you're quadrennial, and you train together as a group. Uniquely for lightweight rowing, there's one boat, 2 seats. Heavyweight rowing, there's 8 boats, a whole lot of seats.
So how many people show up to
Yeah,
to
as
vie
as
for these
many.
spots?
So it'll start off pretty open for the first 2 years of the
Okay.
quad. So anyone can really, if you're top of the national trials or a recognized targeted individual from a university program,
Mm-hmm.
you'll be invited in. So if your erg scores are good and you're on the water speed, it's good in a single scull for lightweight, single scull for heavyweight. It can be a pair or four. So if you have credentials to your name in terms of national and international standing, then you'll be invited in. But you do have to meet a certain criteria list, which is you have to compete in national trials, you have to be quite successful, and you have to show that you can have the discipline, and there it is again, discipline. But you do have to be able to show that you've been training on a routine schedule and you've been like putting in the hours, because rowing is one of those ones where you really can't come in and start doing like a 22 and you're going to waste people's time because everyone else can. So it's a pretty brutal process from that. But then once you're in, you kind of get every year you'll get your carding, and so once you're carded, you're allowed to be on the team, and you're practicing 2 or 3 times a day, 6 days a week in at home base, which was Victoria, and then Duncan, and now Sean again, and maybe Victoria again. I don't know. It's going back and forth, but yeah, then you're in there with the group, and honestly, every single day you're competing with each other, and it is.
How long is the process? How long are you there for?
So you're in, like, how long are you in camp?
Yeah.
All year.
Oh, all year.
So you're competing against each other every single day all year. Yeah. Yeah, it was.
Okay. Yeah. So, oh, wow.
Yeah, and you're also watching your weight because
Yeah.
lightweight, so you have to weigh in before your races, and you're also trying to improve yourself while trying to show speed, while trying to, and so you're mix and match, right? Some days you're rowing with somebody, some days you're not, some days you're rowing in a boat you have no desire to be in, other days you're with your friend. You have to really monitor your own emotions, monitor your own abilities, monitor your interrelationship within the team. It's a lot.
Yeah.
So this is just a logistical question, but I mean, for a year, obviously, you really can't have a job during that time. That is your job. So what do people do? Do they just quit their jobs as they make it? And are you getting paid and housing and stuff to?
I mean, you're just broke all the time, unless you're a returning medalist and you can get some speaking engagements. And I have to this. Olympians in Canada are much different than Olympians in the United States, because those deals, unless you're like Summer McIntosh or a track star, you are not getting
Much.
any.
Yeah. Yeah.
You have 40 million people to 400 million people. The sport industry in Canada alone is, we're very proud. There's so many, like, the pride is there, and it's all hunky dory in terms of vocal support, but monetary support is tough. And so,
Yeah.
you're making carding, which is 21K a year, which hasn't changed since, God knows, goodness, Canadian dollars, and you're living off of that. And so you have to work really hard to find creative ways of getting an income, because no, you're not working. You're
Right.
also in a very remote location. I don't know if you know where Duncan or Shawnigan Lake is, but it's in a forest.
Yeah.
You can't have a job, let alone 9 to 5, but even a job part-time, because there isn't that really available. And rowing is really labor. It's a lot of physical work, and so being on your feet is not great at all for if you want a shot at being good. You really can't be on your the day after practice and between practice. You can deal with it for the first 2 years of the quad, but as things get more competitive, you have to dial back a little bit. But yeah, so it was just a matter of athletes getting creative and, finding supporters, being generous individuals, any sort of sponsorship-like deals.
So as somebody who has been to 2 Olympics, right? You said for the year prior, you're, in these camps, right? In 2020, you were how old? 23? So you were just out of college
Yeah,
and you went into the camp? So you didn't really
So
have to think about a job in that sense.
No, so transparently, I've never had a real job.
Okay, that was my question. Like, okay, you had these periods of time before you had to go back into camp. Like, what did you do?
So no, I want to double down on that. You're in camp 4 years. You don't get to go and get a job and then come back 2 years out. If you, for instance, I mean, granted, it's changed a little bit now because the coach is a lot more lenient, but at the time we had a coach that it was, you arrive on year 1 and you're expected to be there through to year 4.
I thought it was 1 year.
No, it's 4 years. No, you train for Olympics for 4 years for sure.
Okay, so you're at this remote location for...
Yeah, I haven't lived at home since 2013.
Wow. And then when are you officially... I know you said that you're an Olympian until you're in the boat at the Olympics. So during those 4 years, you're not guaranteed a spot to even row at the Olympics. So wow. So how many people are at that camp then, and what's the percentage of people actually going to the Olympics?
I mean, it varies year to year. We do have athletes that come in a year out, 2 years out, and they've come from a university program. But for instance, with us, with lightweights, there's anywhere from 8 to 4 to 2 at the end, lightweights. And some of them trained for 3 years, never made it. Others trained for 10 years, never made it. It happens. You get sucked in.
I guess it's so different than other sports. Like tennis. It's like you're on your own, you're doing your own thing, you have your own schedule compared to, I don't know if there's any comparison. I don't know if gymnastics is semi-similar or track and field.
Are there competitions? Just because we're familiar with tennis, there's a whole schedule every year, of tournaments there that you can, make some money on depending on the level. But is there some sort of circuit or is it mainly just training for the Olympics?
No, there is World Cups and World Championships every single year. And so, like I said, the World Cups, there's 3 of them every year. So you only have 4 races every single year. And in those races, you'll only be going down the track 2 to 3 times. And Canada will only go to 2 out of 3 World Cups. So you only get really 3 races, which is a lot, which is a little for a lot, you know what I mean? But again, when things are the norm, you don't question why are we doing this.
Yeah, it's just what you do.
Yeah, and rowing is not a popular sport in North America, from my experience, and so there really isn't that like, oh, can I go pro kind of thing. Once you're on the Olympic team, that's it. There's nowhere else.
Right.
But yeah, you have the World Cups, the World Champs. The World Cups work towards seeding for a World Champ, which means you'll be placed in a heat that will rank you based off of how you finished earlier in the season. And the only World Champs that, like, quote unquote matters, they all matter because you're the best in the world that year. But the one that gets you to the Olympic Games is the one prior to the Olympic Games, World Games forgotten, essentially.
Right. Wow. How does it feel to be an Olympian? Walking in to the Olympic Village for the first time, you're competing with the best players in the world. What is that like?
Yeah, it's it's weird because there's no new faces. So it's not like you're walking into a whole different group of individuals who you have no idea what their talent is, you have no idea how they're prepared, all these kind of things. You're competing against the same people you competed against for the past 8 years. The only thing that is so divisive across the board when you ask Olympians is it just another race or another regatta, or is it the Olympic Games?
Right.
And how do you compartmentalize your emotions if you're looking at it as the Olympic Games, or how do you get yourself amped if it's just another race? Because at the end of the day, it's still 6 lanes across the same countries you've been racing against, so it's not different.
Right.
But it is.
Right.
And so I think for me, the first Olympic Games, I was so immature and I was so unprepared for what it was going to be like. And I think I did myself a disservice in getting so worked up in the little things about the Olympic Games that I didn't focus on the actual race at hand. And that was a huge shortcoming because you wanted to make sure you had all the experiences of the Olympics and the fandom of the Olympics. Plus, it was COVID, so you were just happy to get out of the house.
Right.
Which was challenging, and that led to not a good result at all. And then in Paris, unfortunately, the same thing happened to the opposite end of things, where so much was trying to be controlled that some of the things we should have paid attention to were missed. Signs leading into the race that would indicate that things were not going very well, regardless of the fact that we had come in fourth the year before and we were really excited to be in the hunt for a good placing in Paris. And so it was a challenge to know that I had gone on one end of the spectrum for one Olympic Games and the other end of the spectrum for the other Olympic Games.
Right.
When you talk about little things, are you focusing on elements of rowing, or are you talking about external things outside that are just going on at the Olympics that were difficult to manage?
Definitely emotional.
Mm-hmm.
Definitely emotional preparation, mental awareness, mental agility, I would say. A lot of, I don't know if it's common in tennis. In rowing, it's sort of when you're practicing and when you're training, it's like 90% physical, 10% mental.
Yeah.
And then you get to competition, it's 90% mental.
Yep.
So it flips, right? Well, we didn't really do that. If the rest of your competition is technically better than you and they're doing that,
right, your chances are slim.
It's not going to look good. So
yeah.
It was definitely all mental.
Yeah.
I mean, it's always hard for me to talk about the fact that I'm supposed to be very strong. Like I have 2 world records on the ergometer, right? And for lightweight, that's pretty good. I'm pretty fast. But it never translated into results.
Right.
And that's when, as an athlete, you just have to sit yourself down and be like, okay, well, something up here didn't click. So what was that?
Yeah. Yeah.
It's true. I think the mental is definitely probably one of the most difficult elements of sport, just in general. And and so going with that, can you share your most difficult moment as a competitive athlete? I know that can be a lot of different things, and I feel like we like to ask this question because I feel like every athlete, if they're, honest with themselves, has probably a lot of difficult moments. Like athletics in general is just so difficult, whether it's mental or physical or all together. So is there something that like stands out for you that was maybe a difficult moment in your career?
There are like 2, write your story about kind of moments that I probably would say were really hard. One was getting over a coach that, ruined everything for everyone. I think everyone listening to this, or both of you or anyone in the world, can experience a terrible coach who, single-handedly, huge difference. We all know. And then the second one is, again, very common, the eating disorder thing.
Yeah.
Lived through that. That was, and just denial and pretending it's not a problem when it is a problem, and just looking around and saying, well, everyone else is doing it, so,
it's normal. Yeah.
It's normal, which was awful. And I will, if I spot it or see it nowadays, I'm like, well, we're having a chat immediately. And then, then also I got double hip surgery, and that was tough. But I think, and let's be clear, not a very big surgery at all. It's so common nowadays for women, especially, to get labrum hip surgery. I know so many athletes who had to get double or single labrum hip surgeries, and it's mental. I don't know what's going on between that and MCLs and ACL tears. Doctors were all suffering, and I wouldn't wish it on anybody, but it's insane. I know 4 athletes that I was talking to at the games now who have had to get the same procedure, and it's just, I have so many questions as to why. But I think all in all, the overarching hardest thing to do, and the question was, just to be super clear, what was the toughest moment?
It's a challenge. It just really be however you want to take it.
The challenge of being an athlete is just being real with yourself and seeing yourself the way other people see you. Because I think when you're rowing and when you're in such a niche sport and you're isolated and you're in a small team and you don't really have any checks and balances. I mean, I was in a long-term relationship for 4 years. We didn't see each other. We saw each other 3 times a year. So I had no one checking me, putting me in my place. And I think I could have really used that. I think I could have used some mentorship, some tough mentorship, in the sense of, Jenny, let's not do this. Let's do it this way. And some athletes to help me see the best version of myself and be that person, rather than think I'm operating at the best version of myself and not be. Because in retrospect and, hindsight 2020, there's so many things I could have done better. So I think the hardest thing as an athlete, and my biggest Achilles, was just not having that ability to see the things that I was doing that were hindering my performance.
That's a great answer.
Yeah, that's so real too. I mean, Julia, you probably did this as well, just as tennis as individual sports are kind of similar, where you're in a small environment, it's just you. And it's so easy as an athlete to you're criticizing every single thing, about yourself. And in some way it's your job to do that, but also it can be so easy to spiral. Yeah. And thank you for sharing that too, because I think that's such a real emotion that definitely resonates with me. Likewise. As well. Yeah, it's hard to balance that, especially when you don't have good mentorship. And I think a lot of athletes don't have that.
No.
And you don't realize it till you're out of it.
Yeah, and then you look back and me right now, I'd be lying to you if I wasn't like, all right, LA 2028, which sport are we going?
Yeah.
Let's do this. But it's just funny because you look at it like Tour de France, right?
Mm-hmm.
You look at all these athletes and you're like, damn. And from this perspective, from this mindset, like, who in your life is helping you be this person?
Mm-hmm.
We need to talk about them. We need to talk about, yes, you're a physiological specimen,
right?
But who is helping you get here? Because there's no way you're doing it alone,
right?
And
yeah,
like little kids are watching you thinking, I want to be that one day. I want to be, the Jonas. I want to be the Tade.
Yeah.
And that's, yes, be the Jonas and Tade, but understand that they're not there alone.
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And it's tough because then when you get out of that world and you see it for what it is and you see what you actually needed, which was that check, which was that reality, I just yearn to go back so much and do it again the right way.
Yeah.
Way that I'm like listening to my gut, listening to the people who are telling me the right advice, and surrounding myself by people who are like helping me become better rather than trying to forge my own path forward kind of blind. And then the last thing I'll add is you can't do it alone. You cannot do it without money. We are not in a game anymore where if you have little funding, you're going to make it. I don't know. Again, similar to Lifetime Athletes, if someone wants to challenge me on that, have at her. But I don't know a sport that you can make it to the top 1%, the top 1% of the top 1%, the top 1% of the top 1% without a solid D.
Yeah, I mean, I think you can argue, or people may argue, oh, basketball players can make it to the top, right? It requires very little money to start playing the sport. You can go to your local park. All you have to do is find somebody who has a basketball and you're good, right? But at the end of the day, most of the NBA players went to some type of private prep school and they all received a scholarship. So in some cases, that's right. That's the pocket, or then they're going on to play at a Division I school, obviously paid for, right? So
the infrastructure is there.
The infrastructure is there, right? At the beginning, it might not be the most expensive sport to play, but ultimately it does require some type of sponsorship in whatever capacity that comes in, whether your family has money or you have somebody local in your community that's willing to help you.
Yeah, I should preface that. I mean, you can start with nothing.
Right.
By all means, you can start with nothing. You
Right.
can start training with absolutely nothing. A pair of sneakers and,
Yeah.
some free weights in the garage. By all means, if you want to be a world champion.
Yeah.
No, that's a different kind of.
And hopefully now with technology and the ability to make money online, whether that's obvious, maybe not endorsement deals, but finding part-time employment online, like maybe that's changing and making it a little bit easier when you are in the camps to have some type of income.
I really hope so. I think it is. I think, again, athletes are getting really creative, but at the same time, I mean, if I'm being honest, that you're then taking a job that's not going to help you long term in terms of what you want to do after.
Right.
So it's just money to get money. It's
Right.
not developing yourself. So
Absolutely.
being negative, like I think
No, it's real. It's a real. It's real.
And I think a lot of people may not realize, you're right. I mean, sports, basketball, and that have, a lot of deep pockets in the sport itself and organization. Once you kind of, make it to, and obviously it's very difficult to make it to, NBA or things like that. But when you're there, you are getting, the monetary like help and payment. But for a lot of sports, you said Olympian, that's the top in your sport, but you're still 20,000 or whatever you said it was is not even a livable wage. So I think a lot of people don't realize
Canadian dollars. That's like $18,000 in the United States.
And
it up, and we had some we hustled like crazy to get some donors, and we had so much good luck with having some support as in the last year towards the end of the games. But had we not had that, we would have come worse than eighth.
Right.
I mean, the result is also, as much as it's a result of my mental preparation, a lot of it had to do with, there's a huge stress when you don't have the financial backing to do what you do. And then you watch social media, you watch a competition where they are, what they're doing, and you're like,
that's great.
Yikes, that's going to hurt me later.
Right.
Love that for you.
Absolutely. Yeah.
It's just, I wish I had a magic wand and I could say, oh man, rowers work so hard. If you could just give them $100,000 a year, it'd be great.
Yeah. You mentioned before that LA 2028 is no longer having lightweight. So does that mean your career's over? And how did that come about?
It came about completely out of my control.
Yeah.
It came about as them saying it, me being like, no.
Yeah.
But yeah, lightweight's definitely over. I mean, I think they're still doing it at world championship level.
Okay.
If it's not Olympic sport, I'm not
Right.
participating.
Right.
And my other thing is, I really am not at that place in my life where I can afford to go back to rowing. And I also am not at that place in my life that I feel going back to an Olympic Games to participate. It's not fun. I don't enjoy participating. I don't enjoy doing badly.
Yeah.
Yeah.
It's a lot for that kind of emotional turmoil. But my gosh, if there is an opportunity for me to be in a life situation where I can make it work, I'm going. I don't know what that would look like. I don't have a crystal ball, but I would go for heavyweight boat for sure. I would need to be going back with some clear indicators of success, but as far as saying no 100% to LA, I can't quite do that yet.
Right.
That's in a year. Maybe we'll be having a different conversation.
Right.
But I've also really jumped into triathlon, and all of a sudden I'm like deeply invested in that in my
Yeah.
own personal development. So I don't think I'll be going to the Olympics in it, but it is something that I do want to be very competitive in. Oddly enough, the coach that I'm working with was the Olympic coach for the Tokyo Games,
That's
and
funny.
yeah, I know it's crazy. Life is weird, but
Small.
it's so small, and he's an amazing, amazing individual in and of himself. But it's so cool to be able to do a sport that I can just train on my own
Mm-hmm.
and give me a new lens into like, oh, this is something I could definitely make.
Right.
So yeah, and that's so interesting that you kind of talked about that you're jumping into triathlons now. Was that helpful with once you heard that there wasn't going to be the lightweight competition to have something else, or were you into triathlons before that? How did you kind of get to that place, and did that help with your transition at all from no longer focusing on rowing every day?
Yeah, I've always wanted to do triathlons, for no like set reason other than the fact that I thought that they were amazing and wonderful and really, really hard. And I love hard things. And I was like, why would you do one sport when you can do three? And I have always loved running. I've very much enjoyed biking and I love swimming, except I sink. So I wanted to try something that would like I'd be very bad at essentially, and then do a nice little grow curve while I take on real life. Again, getting myself into some reality checks and being in discomfort is always healthy. And I really like being fit.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
need to, I
Yeah.
can't.
Yeah.
And there was a part of me that's like, oh, I could do the yoga and I could chill out and I could do Pilates and the no,
Yeah.
no.
I'm,
There's
I'm
that
saying.
trend
I
right
get
now
it.
that's
Yeah.
like I'm a Pilates princess. I'm like can't relate.
No,
I'm like
neither can I.
No, I'm with you.
Maybe once
so
in a while, but not,
Yeah.
an
I do love
everyday.
it, but not as my, yeah.
yeah, it couldn't be me. And so yeah, so that's kind of how I got there. And then I just started really tinkering away with reaching out and finding a good coach and getting some good training and getting into some races. And then now it's like, I don't know how far this is going to go, but it's on a path of its own.
So you started your own company. Can you tell the listeners about it? I'm really excited for everybody to hear about it.
Yeah, I've co-founded a company now with my co-founder Manuela, and it is creating an everyday bra for women with broad shoulders. It is, again, when we talk about like transitioning to triathlon, it's similar to triathlon in the sense that it was like a huge lifeline for me because I'm currently in the States and I can't work because I'm not American yet. So, but we're working on it. So it has just let me pour myself into it, and it's so cool to be able to get behind a product that I think is going to make a difference, that I know is going to make a difference. It's not just some cutesy little thing that we're doing for funsies and like putting a sticker on it and calling it, a reinvention. It's a redesigned piece of apparel that every single woman wears. And no one has thought twice about improving in the sense that you can change little things here and there, but why are you changing those things? What is the difference you're trying to accomplish? And why are you doing it so fast without thought? And the interesting thing about the bra industry is that as you just look under the first two layers, and in terms of innovation, it's nil. In the sports bra industry, we don't want to enter that world because it's so sad. There's so many things happening, and we don't really know where we put our footing in, or sorry, we don't really know how we get our footing, and identify ourselves as different. But in the everyday bra world, oh my gosh, I went into Victoria's Secret the other day, just for funsies, just to see,
Yeah.
so competition, and I was like, I am not concerned. These are awful.
Yeah. No,
They're
it
awful.
is.
It's bananas, and they're so uncomfortable. So Manny and I are recreating the bra in the way that because women, like Manny and I are upside down triangles.
I was about to say, we have big shoulders and then
small hips.
Yeah.
And exactly. And so we're creating a bra for those women because we are not the only 2 women on the planet that have it. And what started off as us just being like, oh my gosh, I hope women identify with this, have been so many different groups of people, women, being like, oh my gosh, this is perfect for me. And they're pre-menopause and they're being told to lift weights. And so now all of a sudden they have broad shoulders. They are trans women who are like, by the way, this is exactly what I need. And we're like, makes so much sense.
Yeah.
Athletic women. My favorite group of individuals who've come forward are women who have been told they're athletes their entire life and have never been in the gym. They're like, yeah, I've been asked if I'm a swimmer since day one, and I have never been in the water. So it's just interesting to hear so many women have this same problem. And then you realize, I don't know if you have the problem. I think it's just the bra industry is so old and hasn't been changed in so long that this bra is actually still designed for the straight and narrow body that
we don't have.
Yeah. It's not a thing. And on top of that, when you go and you get sized, Lord forbid you have to go and get sized, the sizing makes absolutely no sense. It doesn't work. And so most women, when you ask them what their bra size is, they're just a small, a medium. And so no one actually knows what size they are in, like 32, 34, 36. On top of that, it's like, I'm a Lulu 8 on top, I'm a Lulu 10 on bottom.
Yeah.
What does that mean?
What does that mean?
No.
Yeah.
So it's insane. And then, for instance, you'll go and you'll get sized and the bra that they give you just doesn't even fit in the first place. So it's really exciting to be able to tackle a problem that I think so many women do face and we have a solution for. I think the scary thing is it's a business.
Yeah.
It's highs and lows. You never know if it's going to work out. So many things go belly up within a week, and you have to be on social media and turn yourself into an influencer, which is great. So that's a whole other thing told me I had to do.
Yeah, but nowadays that's the marketing.
Yeah.
You have no choice, and I have many feelings about it, but none of which will be me giving up. However, when my children go back and look at the videos that I have made,
they're gonna
and
be
they
like,
go, Mommy, I will say, Mommy was not thinking.
Well, maybe Instagram and social media will not be a thing at that time. Maybe it'll be something different.
Hopefully, unless you're the algorithm who's listening on this conversation, in which case, I love you. We love you.
Boost my photo. Boost my videos.
Trending audio. Hashtag this, that.
It's ridiculous. I understand. The one thing that I will say when you and I spoke previously was, and that resonated with me, was creating a bra that athletes can use for in a professional setting, because I struggle with that so much. Finding a product that I'm like, this actually is comfortable and this actually looks good, because for the most part, if I'm sacrificing comfort for not being able to see it through my shirt or being able to fit. And so I think it's something that is definitely needed, and I'm excited for when it goes to market so I can buy one.
Yeah, that's it, right? It's like I talk about it in phases. We've gone from, and we might have spoken on this prior, but we've gone from shapewear and Spanx, which was a thing that we all loved. And then we went into athleisure a little bit and leggings, and then we hit COVID and we were like super into athleisure. Athleisure became a thing, and now there's athleisure take over the world. And now we're in this super weird period where everyone's more fit, everyone's back to work, relative, depending on your business, back to work. But you can't wear sweatpants to work. You shouldn't wear sweatpants to work. I personally think, might know that again. But what you do need are clothes that work for your body that's now fit, and you shouldn't have to be squeezing into Lord knows what, made by who knows who, probably men, that isn't made for your chest and your shoulders. And so it's interesting because I'm curious to see what happens over the next 5 years when we do go back to the office, because we all agree that community is where, innovation thrives. What are the clothes gonna change? Are they gonna change? I mean, are we gonna finally have a blazer that fits your lats? Are you gonna have jeans that finally fit your quads?
Oh
my God. Have t-shirts that, so I'm just whittling off things.
Yeah.
It's like, wait.
It's like the waist is so big, but it's the only size that fits my legs. And so then there's a massive gap and I can take my pants off without unbuttoning them. Like, what are we doing?
Yeah. For us, we're going, fashion's forgot my broad shoulders. It's because it's created so many different clothing, so many different styles and colors and materials and textures, and all off the same mannequin.
Right. Yeah. No, absolutely.
Yeah, and that's
mannequin. And something else that we're realizing is, again, when you change that mannequin, do not change off of size, change off of my figure, change off of my silhouette, change off of all of me that makes up the body that I have, not just number here to number here, therefore medium,
Right.
because that doesn't make sense.
yeah. Well, that's such, I mean, I feel like especially for athletes who, I mean, Julie and I talk about it all the time with just clothing in general. It's so hard to find things that fit, and you're right. I mean, I think athletes struggle a lot too because you sometimes don't have that, kind of quote unquote body type that it's a lot of the clothes are based off of. So that's very exciting what you're doing.
Thank you.
What like attributes and skills have you taken into starting co-founding your business that you learned as an athlete?
Like, I don't even know where to start. The fact that you can get up early and get work done, that's the first thing. Like, if you can get up early and you're used to getting up early and you can start your day at 5 o'clock in the morning, you're set.
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about hustle, grind, culture, take a video, although tonight I might be taking videos, just forewarning. But I'm not talking about the burnout culture. I'm talking about the ability to get up and start working
Yeah.
and do it in a way that you feel that it's giving you something back when you're training. And so that's something that I like shifted in my brain. It's like, instead of having to do it, it's you get to do it.
Yeah.
Instead of, I know that doesn't sit well with everyone, but for me it works. If you can frame it in I get to do this, it makes my life a lot easier.
In the gratitude, yeah.
Gratitude is huge. I sleep on gratitude and I do not sleep on journaling. It's very core to me feeling I have control in my life.
Mm-hmm.
Even if there isn't. And so those are two things that I think really, really help. But in the bigger picture, it's how do you work with people? How do you talk to people? How do you act with other people? How do you act with a co-founder? How do you network? Do you network? Do you know how to network? And do you know authentically? Don't sell the product. Don't go out and be like, buy my bra.
No.
Be like, hey, this is something that and just say it with your chest, but say it in a way that's not intimidating or greater than thou, or you even need this. It's say it for what it is. I have a pain point. I have an opportunity to make a solution. This is the solution. Do you identify? Super cool. Watch me make it.
Right.
Want to buy it? Even better. That's like the crux of it. And so if you can keep your authentic line through that and then just keep bouncing back after every single hit, that's really all you need. And be curious, be willing to learn, and be a fast learner. And I think that's the one thing that sport teaches us. If you've made it to a high level, there's no way you haven't fallen on your face.
Yeah.
Minimum 1,000 times. And so if you're used to failure, welcome to business, because you're going to have to get real comfy and cozy with it. And the only thing that I wish I had done more as an athlete that would have prepared me better for this is do things outside of sport. I mean, we only race 3 times a year. So there are only 3 times of the year where you can really be vulnerable and really put yourself on the line and retest this. But I wish there would have been other opportunities that I could have put myself out there that I didn't know what the result was going to be. And I put myself in a position that I'm like, oh man, I'm so uncomfortable right now. I do not want to be here, but I stayed. And if you're an athlete that does do that a lot, say for instance, if you're, as someone who doesn't like being social and doesn't like being part of a team, but you love basketball, you deal with that every single day. Mm-hmm. So that kind of a characteristic trait is something that will serve you so well.
Definitely a lot of transferable skills and things like talking about failure, talking about discipline, all of that. I like that you also mentioned kind of the difference between burnout culture versus being able to, have structure and in your day. Could you expand a little bit on that? Because I think that's so interesting and something that's so difficult for a lot of people to know. What is the difference between working hard at something versus burning yourself out on it and being unhealthy?
It's a very, very, very clear difference. I think the burnout is that incessant need that so many of us have to do everything all at once, all the time, right now. And it is the most toxic North American societal norm that we all suffer from because it's pushed down our throats because of what we consume. And I think it is different in Canada. I don't think there's quite as much as that. I don't think there's quite as much of that because there are fewer people. And I don't think it's at all nearly as much in Europe as well. But someone will probably go capitalism this and, fast pace that, no vacation this, which is great. But it's not that you're not in control of it. You can change it. You have to make a decision. You have to make a decision on what is important to you and what is not important to you and start every single day with a priority list. And you're going to have so many days where it's like, I have to do all of this. It's sitting in front of me. It's on my to-do list. I have to check it off. That satisfaction of checking a box beside a thing you have to do. That, again, I've been on social media way too much, but that trend where it's like, It's like, this is what it's about or something like that. Oh, I forgot this is the reason.
Yes.
Like
Yes.
a
Yeah, this is the whole point. I forgot
yeah,
this is the whole point.
yeah,
Yeah.
Those I've seen, I'm like, that's not the point.
Right. It's like sitting on the boat in with the sunset down with your husband and yeah.
Like it's great. I'm so happy for you. I'm so happy that this makes you happy and you can post about it. I'd be so much happier for you if you didn't need a point. I'd be so much happier for you if you had every single day where you were working towards something or working for something. And when I say enjoying the journey and loving the process, I wish that was the point for you.
Yeah.
Because that's a point that athletes need to also understand, is that the end game in that final race, bro, that thing ends.
It's not the point. The point is
And
enjoying the process.
I'm not an Olympic champion. I'm not an Olympic medalist.
Yeah.
I hope they can say something different. And you see, I contradict myself a lot. To me, the point is, can you have a life and a structure that allows you to do the percentage that is appropriate for each endeavor that you want to do at a rate that is sustainable for the goal period that you've given yourself? That is the difference between burnout and hamster wheel and looking like you're doing so many different things all at once at the same time and making everyone envious of your lifestyle, or not giving a shit and setting yourself up for the best version of yourself on your 1, 3, 5 year goal plan, doing that SMART goal, doing the things that people think are dumb but do for a reason, and they just give you peace. And if you can wake up and go to sleep with peace every single day,
And you won. Yeah, 100%.
and it's just bananas to me. I mean, you see these people who the 9 to 5 before the 5 to 9, it's great, but what about family? What about your relationship? What about smelling the flowers? I mean, that's stupid to say out loud, but honest to God, have you?
Yeah.
Like, when was last time for a walk?
Yeah.
And
We talk about that a lot on here. It's like, yes, you can have your, not really like the 5 to 9 before the 9 to 5, but what is the routine like? What is the structure and the schedule like? And maybe it is going for a walk and going to work out. Maybe it's hanging out with your family. Maybe it's talking to your mom. It doesn't all have to be, I need to journal. I need to do this. I need to do that. I need to do that. It's like, what actually is the process that makes you feel good? And do that every day so that when you lay your head down at night, you can go to sleep. You're not sitting there spiraling for an hour, 2 hours about what you're doing with your life.
It hurts a lot to see so many young people who are doing so well and are so successful and, making the money and getting the fame and getting the glory, and kind of forgetting that at the end of the day that can end, that stops. You don't know what's going to happen with any of that, and what does happen when that goes away.
Yeah.
What happens when that's not enough for you anymore? And what do you do when that's not enough for you anymore? Because how many more hours of the day can you squeeze out? Because humans evolve and humans want more, and we're always going for more. So when you think that schedule you've gotten for yourself is enough today, wait until next year where you're beating yourself into the ground because it's not enough, and then you're losing everyone in your life because you just dedicated yourself to absolute nothingness.
Right. It's like the goal is to make $2 million, whatever, and then you get there and you're like, that's not enough. So I need to keep going. And it's the same thing in everything. You get it, and then it's not what you thought it would be.
No, I think people just need to really sit down and just think, okay, I am a 1 in an 8 billion individual on this planet. Let me be selfish. Let me be so selfish for 5 minutes of my day and think, in my perfect situation, if money and fame were not important, what would my life look like? And what would I spend time doing?
Right.
I feel a lot of people will be shocked when they do that. Like, for me, I did that and I was like, oh my gosh, like I need my family to know that I love them. Like, that was like number one for me.
Yeah.
I need them to know that I think about them all the time. And then I can keep working on the other things that you have to do to get ahead in life. But having that touch point of, no, but what, like what in here, what matters?
Yeah, what actually matters.
Yeah. So I think it's just something that I hope people come to realize and can do it quietly and on their own.
Yeah.
And just
it doesn't need to be broadcasted on social media.
And if you want to do that, that's okay. But are you doing it?
Right. Right.
All the time, my guy.
Yeah.
I think that's really important that coming from you, especially as someone who is successful, and that I think sometimes the mentality is, oh, I have to have this, burnout culture mentality to be successful, but you don't. And I think that's great that you shared that, and that'll resonate with a lot of people.
Yeah.
So to finish out our conversation, if you could describe your transition to life after sports in one word, what would it be? Put you on the spot here. Tough one.
I know. It could be 2 words if you really need
Yeah, it
to.
could be a sentence, just something short.
I would say either unpredictable or terrifying.
Yeah.
It's terrifying. It is so scary. Yeah, I'm going with terrifying because
Okay.
to this day it's terrifying.
Yeah.
Honest. Yeah.
I would concur. Well, thank you so much for coming on and talking about your story. And we cannot wait to see the bra being launched. We're really excited. And hopefully, perhaps in 2028, we'll see you somewhere else.
Oh,
We appreciate that. Thank you so
Of
much.
course.
Thank
Thank
you.
you. Let me
All right, I'll talk to you later.
Bye.
bye.
Bye.